The battlefield
Move
was a
up!
graveyard
Enemy on the
of broken
ridge!
steel
Copy!
and
Pushing
shattered
forward! Stay tight! Watch
Commander
the flanks!
James Reeves stood at the edge of the ridge, his boots sinking into the scorched alien soil of Kepler-7, a world that had never asked to become a war zone. Around him, the remnants of the Galactic Coalition forces were barely holding the line. Vorath warriors, 8 feet of hardened exoskeleton and cold calculation, pushed forward in endless waves, their energy cannons tearing through Coalition armor like paper. Lieutenant Marcus Webb crawled to Reeves' side, his helmet cracked, blood tracing a thin line down his jaw. "Sir," Marcus said, his voice hollow. "The Delvari battalion just collapsed on the eastern flank. The Sorvian artillery is out of ammunition. We're the only ones still firing." Reeves said nothing. He looked at the sky, a bruised purple canvas streaked with smoke and distant fire. 40,000 Coalition soldiers had landed on Kepler-7. Maybe 12,000 remained. The Vorath had superior numbers, superior technology, and zero mercy. "How long?" Reeves asked. 20 minutes. Maybe less. Reeves clenched his jaw. He had sent the distress signal 4 hours ago. No one was coming. That was the cold truth of interstellar war, distance swallowed hope whole. Or so he believed. The first sign was the sound. Not an explosion. Not a crack of weapons fire. Something deeper, a resonance that climbed up through the ground and settled into every soldier's chest like a second heartbeat. Then the cloud split. It descended slowly, deliberately, as if it had all the time in the universe. The USS Eternal Resolve, a Titan-class human warship, broke through the atmosphere like a god stepping down from heaven. 3 kilometers long, its hull black as deep space, scarred from 100 battles across a dozen star systems. Its running lights blazed crimson and white. Its forward gun arrays, 12 rail cannons, each capable of reducing a mountain to rubble, rotated silently into position. The Vorath advance stopped. For the first time in the entire campaign, the alien warriors paused. Their commanders, creatures that had never known hesitation, stood frozen, their sensor arrays locked onto the vessel that now hung impossibly low over the battlefield, close enough that the Coalition soldiers could read the ship's hull number painted in bold white letters. Reeves stood up from cover. He didn't crouch. He didn't hide. He stood tall on that ridge, looked up at the Eternal Resolve, and allowed himself one single, quiet breath of relief. The warship's communication array activated on all open frequencies, Coalition and Vorath alike. The voice that followed was calm. Measured. Carrying the particular weight of someone who had seen the worst humanity could endure and refused to be broken by any of it. "This is Captain Elijah Drake of the UES Eternal Resolve, 3rd Human Expeditionary Fleet. To the Vorath Dominion forces on this field, you have 60 seconds to begin full withdrawal. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy." A pause. The clock is running. The Vorath Supreme Commander, a massive beast designated Warlord Vokthan, opened a direct channel. His translator rendered his words in flat, mechanical English. "One ship changes nothing, human." Captain Drake's reply came without delay, without emotion, without a single wasted word. "Check your long-range sensors, Warlord." Vokthan looked. His sensor officers looked. The color, whatever passed for color in a Voratha's alien physiology, drained from their faces. 7 more Titan-class warships were dropping through the upper atmosphere. 8 human warships. Total. Enough firepower to crack a moon. The Vorath didn't run. Running wasn't in their nature. But they stopped. Every cannon powered down. Every warrior lowered their weapon. Vokthan stood motionless for a long moment, the calculations running behind his ancient warrior's eyes, calculations that only produced one possible outcome. He transmitted the order. Withdrawal. Across the entire front, Vorath forces began pulling back. Silently. Methodically. without a single shot fired in response. Marcus Webb stood beside Reeves, mouth open, watching 80,000 alien soldiers retreat from a battle they had been winning minutes ago. "They're leaving," Marcus whispered. "Yeah," Reeves said. "Because of us." Reeves looked up at the Eternal Resolve, at 8 warships holding the sky like iron guardians, and nodded slowly. "Because of us." The silence that followed was the most beautiful sound James Reeves had ever heard. No gunfire. No dying. No ground shaking beneath another Vorith charge. Just wind moving across scorched soil, and somewhere behind the coalition lines, someone began to laugh, the uncontrolled, disbelieving laughter of a soldier who had accepted death and been handed life instead. Then someone cheered. Then everyone did. Delvari soldiers, Sorvians, humans, species that had bled together on this broken world, raised their voices to the purple sky as 8 human warships hung above them like a promise kept. Captain Drake descended in a shuttle an hour later. He was a lean man, gray at the temples, with the quiet eyes of someone who measured words the way a surgeon measured cuts, carefully, and only when necessary. He walked to where Reeves stood and extended his hand. "Commander Reeves." "You held." Reeves shook it. "Barely." Drake almost smiled. "Barely counts." Later, when the after-action reports were filed and the casualty numbers confirmed, numbers that would haunt Reeves for the rest of his life, the Galactic Coalition High Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 11 species sat in that chamber, and for the first time in the Council's 300-year history, every vote on a single resolution was unanimous. Humanity would lead the next campaign. Not because humans were the strongest. Not because human technology was the most advanced. But because when 80,000 soldiers had faced annihilation on a forgotten world called Kepler-7, 12,000 humans had held the line until help arrived, and when help arrived, it arrived wearing humanity's flag. The Vorith Dominion would not forget the Eternal Resolve. In the years that followed, their military strategists would study the Battle of Kepler-7 extensively, searching for the tactical error, the miscalculation, the variable they had failed to account for. They never found a satisfying answer. Because the answer wasn't tactical. It wasn't technological. It was something older. Something that lived in the marrow of every human being who had ever stared into darkness and refused to look away. It was the stubborn, irrational, beautiful human refusal to give up. And on that day, on the scorched soil of Kepler-7, beneath 8 warships holding the sky, humanity stood victorious.